Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? This time, we're going to get into something I know a lot of you have been asking about. How to choose the perfect color for veneers.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one. Getting veneers is a big decision, but picking the right color, that could feel like a whole other level.
Like you're finally taking the plunge, excited for a brand new smile, and then, bam, the dentist hits you with a shade chart that's got like a zillion options.
I can totally see how that would be overwhelming.
Absolutely. But no worries, that's exactly why we're here today. To give you the lowdown on veneer color selection so you can walk into that dentist's office feeling confident and ready to make a choice you'll love.
That's what we're here for.
Exactly. And to help us on this journey, we've got some awesome resources. An article from NitroSmile, a blog post by a Colombian dentist, and a YouTube video by Dr. Daniel Rubenstein, a cosmetic dentist who's basically a smile magician.
Yeah, all three sources actually made a really good point about this whole color thing. It's not just about you picking a shade you like off a chart. It's a team effort.
Oh, interesting. You mean like working with your dentist to figure out the best option?
Yeah, exactly. It's about combining your vision with their expertise to create a smile that's totally unique to you.
Makes sense. So before we get into all the nitty-gritty of shades and stuff, let's just do a quick recap. What are veneers again? I mean, I know they're like these little shells that go over your teeth, but
Yeah, think of them like tiny, custom-made facades. They cover the front of your teeth, kind of like giving them a mini makeover.
right. And they can fix all sorts of things like chips, gaps, discoloration, basically anything that's making you self-conscious about your smile.
Exactly. And that's actually a big reason why picking the right color is so important. Because veneers, well, they're not exactly a temporary thing.
True. Nature Smile actually puts it pretty bluntly. They say there's no going back once you get veneers, which sounds a bit dramatic, but
It kind of drives home the point that this is a decision you got to get right the first time.
okay, so let's talk about that dreaded shade chart. I swear, the first time I saw one, I was like a deer in headlights.
Oh, I bet. It's like they took every shade of white ever invented and put them all on this tiny little card.
It's overwhelming, and Nature Smile even compares it to trying to do instant natural teeth whitening, except with way more options to sift through.
Right, and then there are all these different scales they use, like AD, 1/7, BL shades, but they all basically go from lightest to darkest with those Hollywood white BL shades at the brightest end.
I remember Nature Smile had that example with B1 and B2, where B2 is technically whiter, but B1 gives you more of a natural brightening effect.
Right, it's like, do you want a blinding smile or something a bit more subtle?
Exactly. And that actually raises a good point. Why wouldn't someone just go for the whitest possible shade? It makes you think about how societal beauty standards can be kind of crazy. Like sometimes aiming for a more natural look is actually the bolder choice.
I totally agree. So yeah, even though that shade chart's sitting there staring you down, it's not the only thing you should be thinking about. There are a bunch of personal factors that come into play when choosing a color.
Oh, for sure. Like your skin tone, right? Nature Smile talked about how if you have lighter skin, a slightly darker shade might look best, while darker skin tones could go for more neutral tones. It's about contrast, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't want your teeth to disappear into your face if you have fair skin.
Right. And the opposite is true too. Like a bright white veneer could look amazing against darker skin because of the contrast.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance where your smile complements your complexion, not clashes with it.
And then there's age too. That Colombian dentist blog mentioned that younger folks tend to go for those brighter shades, while older people might prefer something a tad darker, since teeth naturally yellow over time.
It's about matching your smile to your overall look. But of course, there are no hard and fast rules here.
Right. Speaking of, the Colombian dentist also mentioned that, and this is interesting, women usually prefer lighter shades, while men lean towards slightly darker ones, even though there aren't any official guidelines.
It really makes you think about how those societal expectations around gender sneak into everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, even something as simple as tooth color. It's wild. But okay, what about your existing teeth? Does your natural tooth color play a role in choosing a veneer shade?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Matching your natural tooth color is definitely a good starting point. But Dr. Rubenstein, in his video, he brings up a really important point. The underlying color of your teeth can actually affect how that final veneer shade looks.
So even if you're trying to match your natural teeth, it might not be as straightforward as you think.
Right, it's more complex than just pointing at the shade chart and saying,
Yeah.
give me that one.
And the Colombian dentist mentioned something else too. The number of veneers you get can actually change your options. If you're getting a full set, there's more flexibility with color. But if you're only getting a few, they need to blend seamlessly with your existing teeth.
It's like piecing together a puzzle, making sure all the pieces fit just right.
Okay, so we've got skin tone, age, gender, natural tooth color, and even the number of veneers.
Hmm.
It's a lot to consider. But I'm guessing the dentist is there to guide you through all of this.
Oh, absolutely. They'll take all these factors into account along with what you're hoping to achieve and help you make a decision that you're happy with.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork with the shade chart and those key personal factors, but I'm guessing there's even more to it than that.
There is. And this is where Dr. Rubenstein's video gets really interesting. He goes beyond just the basic shade and starts talking about something called translucency.
Translucency. I'm not sure I've heard that term before when it comes to teeth.
It basically refers to how much light can pass through the veneer. Natural teeth have a certain degree of translucency, and that's what gives them that healthy, vibrant look. Dr. Rubenstein really stresses that you don't want veneers that end up looking dull or flat. And that can happen if they're too opaque, meaning they don't let much light through.
So if a veneer is too opaque, it won't have that natural sparkle.
Exactly. And he actually uses a really great analogy in the video. He says to think about an appliance, like a refrigerator or a washing machine.
Mm-hmm.
They have that kind of solid, opaque white finish.
Oh, yeah, I get it. You don't want your teeth to look like kitchen appliances.
Right. They shouldn't be this flat, solid white. They should look natural and reflect light.
Okay, that makes total sense. So it's not just about picking the right shade, it's also about making sure the veneer has the right translucency.
Exactly. And Dr. Rubenstein also mentions that veneers aren't just one solid shade. They're actually blends of different colors, carefully layered to create depth and realism.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of like a painting, I guess. You don't just use one flat color, you use different shades to make it look more lifelike and three-dimensional.
That's a perfect analogy. It really is like an artist using their palette to create a masterpiece. Except in this case, the canvas is your smile.
I never realized how much artistry goes into creating natural-looking veneers.
It's pretty amazing. And get this, Dr. Rubenstein even talks about how your lifestyle can actually affect the color of your veneers over time.
Really? You mean like what you eat and drink?
Yep. Things like coffee, tea, red wine, smoking,
Hmm.
all those habits that can stain your natural teeth. They could affect the color of your veneers too.
So even if you pick the perfect shade, it could still change over time.
Potentially, yeah. And it's interesting because he suggests that in some cases, getting more veneers might actually be a lower maintenance option in the long run.
Wait, hold on. So if you're prone to staining, having more veneers could actually be better. That seems kind of counterintuitive.
I know, right? But think about it this way. If you only have a few veneers, they're more likely to stand out if they start to change color.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a full set, any staining will be more evenly distributed.
Oh. Okay, so it's about creating a more uniform look, even if there's some slight discoloration over time.
Exactly. And what I find really fascinating is how Dr. Rubenstein connects all these seemingly unrelated aspects of your life to your smile. He even talks about how your lip shape and color can have an effect.
Really?
Yeah, he says even things like seasonal changes in your skin tone can impact how the veneer color is perceived.
Wow, it's like you think about the whole picture, not just the teeth themselves.
Right. It's about understanding how all these different elements work together to create that overall impression.
Okay, before we move on, I want to circle back to that Nature Smile article for a sec. They made a point about veneer size that I thought was interesting.
Oh yeah, they mentioned how smaller veneers might be better for someone with a narrower smile, whereas larger veneers could be used to fill gaps or even out tooth length.
Right. And they even said that if a tooth needs a lot of coverage, a crown might be a better option than a veneer. So what exactly is the difference between a crown and a veneer?
Well, a veneer is just a thin shell that covers the front surface of the tooth, but a crown covers the entire tooth. It's more like a cap.
So a crown is a more involved procedure.
It is, yeah. And the Nature Smile article really emphasized that it's important to talk to your dentist about all these different options because ultimately they're the expert. They can help you figure out what's going to work best for your situation.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've talked about shade, translucency, size, crowns. Are we done yet? Or is there even more to consider when choosing veneers?
Well, the Nature Smile article did bring up a couple of other options. Gum veneers and snap-on veneers.
Gum veneers. I've never heard of those. What are they all about?
They're designed for people who have uneven gum lines. Basically, they're like veneers, but for your gums. And they can really make a big difference in terms of how your smile looks overall.
Oh, right. It's like how we were just saying that lip shape and skin tone can affect your smile. This is kind of another layer of that.
Exactly. And then there are snap-on veneers, which are a less invasive, less permanent option, Kind of like those press-on nails you can get, but for your teeth.
Oh, wow. So you can just pop them on and off whenever you want.
Pretty much. They could be a good option for people who aren't ready to commit to a permanent solution or who are looking for something more affordable. But it's important to keep in mind that they might not look as natural as traditional veneers.
Right, like anything else, there are trade-offs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, it all comes back to having a good conversation with your dentist. They can help you weigh those pros and cons and figure out what's going to be the best fit for you.
Okay, so we've gone from being totally clueless about veneers to understanding all these different factors like shade, translucency, size, even alternatives like gum veneers and snap-on veneers. It's a lot.
It is. But I think the biggest takeaway here is that you don't have to do this alone. Don't be afraid to ask your dentist questions, share what you're thinking, and really make sure you're both on the same page.
It's your smile, after all. You should be happy with the results. So let's say you're sitting in that dentist chair, you got all this new knowledge in your head, and you're about to face that dreaded shade chart. What kind of questions would you ask to make absolutely sure you're getting the color that's perfect for you? Besides all the stuff we've already talked about, I mean.
That's such a great question. It's easy to get bogged down in all the technical details. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to how you want your smile to make you feel.
It's about confidence, right? Like how you want to present yourself to the world.
Exactly. Do you want a warm, approachable smile? Or something bold and striking? It's all up to you.
You know, I've actually heard of people bringing in photos to their consultations, like pictures of celebrities or even artwork, just to give their dentist a visual sense of what they're going for.
Oh, that's a great idea. Visuals can be so helpful, especially when you're trying to communicate something as subjective as a look or a feeling.
Totally. It can bridge that gap between what you're picturing in your head and what the dentist is understanding.
Right. It's all about communication. And remember, it's a two-way street. Your dentist isn't just dictating what's going to happen. They actually want to hear your thoughts and ideas.
So it's not just about blindly picking a shade off a chart. It's about having a real conversation with your dentist, sharing what inspires you, what you're hesitant about, and being an active part of the whole process.
Exactly. It should be a collaboration, a partnership.
And when you approach it like that, when you and your dentist are both working together toward a common goal, well, you're way more likely to end up with a smile you absolutely love.
Couldn't agree more.
I think it's so easy to just kind of sit back and let the dentist take charge. But when it comes to something as personal as your smile, it's worth taking the time to really think about what you want and then making sure your dentist understands that vision.
It's an investment, for sure.
Yep.
Not just in your teeth, but in your overall confidence and well-being.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of veneer color selection, let's leave you with this. Don't be afraid to dream big. Picture that smile that makes you feel like $1,000,000.
And then go out there and make it happen. With the right information and a great dentist by your side, there's no limit to what you can achieve.
And remember, a smile is about so much more than just your teeth.
It's a reflection of you,
Yeah.
your personality, your spirit, your unique essence.
I love that. On that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you feel empowered and ready to tackle that shade chart with confidence.
Until next time, keep smiling.